Hey guys, welcome to Youth Ministry Lockdown. We are just youth leaders trying to figure out how to do ministry in a lockdown world. We have a bonus episode for you. Woo! We're talking to Gordon's awesome friend. What's his name, Gordon?
Bryce Brewer. He lives in Spokane, Washington. It's a city of about 250,000 people. 5 hours drive from Seattle. They've been in pretty bad shape for quite a while. I know they've been kind of like in a sort of lockdowns kind of environment for a couple of weeks. So we can hear some really good stuff from speaking to him about how youth ministry looks, I guess, a couple of weeks down the line. So should we give him a call?
Do it.
Yes.
Boom.
Boom. Hey.
Hey.
It's good to see you. You're looking good.
Well, I try. I was trying to, just make my life be modeled after yours and Jesus.
Bryce, meet Brad and Jasmine.
Hi, Bryce.
Hey, guys.
Hello.
These guys are proper Kiwis, people that have grown up in this country, and they're good people. We're all in different parts of New Zealand. New Zealand's a pretty small country. It's got a population of 4 million people across the whole country, and COVID-19's just kind of on our radar. It's just kind of popped in. We have a couple hundred cases, and the Prime Minister said we're in lockdown. We're in day 2, and so every youth ministry under the sun is like, holy crap, we need to do something online this weekend.
Right.
And I was just kind of wondering, what's the situation like for you guys in Washington State? Have you been kind of engaging with online stuff? And so I'd love to have a conversation about what you've tried, why you've tried it, what's worked, what hasn't, and what are other people around about you trying. Now tell me this, have you guys been in Spokane? Hey guys, let me tell you about Spokane. Spokane's 250,000 people. It's about the size of Wellington. It's 5 hours away from Seattle. Really cool place to live. I spent 5 years living there. Loved every minute of it, and have family living there still. Good people there. Really family. Love big events. Spokane.
Yep.
Love big events. What's your, before we start doing the interview and stuff? 1 second.
Of course. Come on, Gordon.
Gordon.
Plastic Gordon fit, eh?
Phone off.
Turning off the phone.
Bragging about turning your phone off, and then you're the one that gets the call.
Tell me about how you're doing and what it's like there.
Well, I'll start, and you'll have to interrupt me. I'm a talker, and so you'll have to stop me and interrupt me.
We're in lockdown, so just keep going. It's fine.
Okay, we're all lonely, so it's great. We have been. They did a national state of emergency about 12 days ago in the United States. We went into a modified lockdown on the following Monday with a full stay in order, which started yesterday. And so on Wednesday here in Washington State, we're in full lockdown. So just essential services, which is like grocery stores, medical, some construction. There's a handful of other businesses open, but essential type things. And so that's what it's been here. We have been, though, under a no gathering of 50 or more for 2.5 weeks.
Okay, perfect.
And so that effectively eliminated any church, any youth ministry meetings here in Washington State. And so there's a handful that are small, and there are a handful here in Spokane that defied the order and said, we're going to meet and do what we want. A little church called Marabou Chapel, don't quote me on that one. You may know someone from there, Gordon.
Yep.
They said, no, we're going to meet until it's an official. It was hey, we suggest no meetings of 50 or more. And so basically on St. Patty's Day weekend, from that weekend forward, we held online church services and then immediately moved to online youth ministry services. Okay. And so the church angle of it is we've done this. And so just because I've been doing church stuff for 20 plus years, I have friends and family all over Washington State, all over the nation, doing things differently. So for us smaller churches, I'm at a church of about 125, 150. We immediately went to, oh no, how do we deal with this mode? And so that was the first week. What our lead pastor did is he preached to his iMac right there and just preached everything. No worship, no anything. Larger churches who have a little bit more of that like tech end of stuff and do a production on a Sunday morning anyway, they immediately went to services where they taped the worship and then had a what they're going to call a host moment, announcements, whatever you're going to call, and then did a taped message but ran it live. And so your hosting of this entire event and your pastoral connection or your people connection was mostly done through the chat features in Instagram, Facebook, or through their website directly. For us, and that's how we did week 2 of quarantine. We call it Coronacation over here, or that's what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get hashtag Coronacation to go trending on Twitter. It's not working, but I'm still going to push it. And so we did that. Well, for youth ministry, I'm fortunate enough that my worship leader lives in my house with me. It's my 19-year-old son. He's one of our youth leaders. And so what we were doing is we did live. We brought the computer out and we set up a cute little corner in my house with guitars in the background, so we look super cool. And then we did worship with an awkward transition to a message. We usually do 3 to 4 songs on a normal midweek service and about a 35-minute message. We cut a few of the songs out, only did 2. But I made the mistake of doing a 35-minute message. So I had all 15 to 20 of our students with our youth leaders watching, but it was way too long. And so what we're learning is truncated services, truncated worship sets are the win. Because our students, I would say the average YouTube video is about 12 to 15 minutes long. And so if you put worship at 6 or 8 minutes up front in a 10-minute message, you're pushing that 20-minute portion for students. And when I talk about like a 20 minutes, I'm talking from the moment someone says, hey, welcome, thanks for being here, all the way to the end where you say, we love you, we can't wait to connect with you. So what we're seeing is these 20-minute services, or whatever you want to call online services, but as short as possible, because we know attention span is under 20 minutes. That's the TED model for it, and all their things. That seems to be Instagram TV. The new entertainment streaming service called Quibi here launching in the States. I don't know how it's launching over there in New Zealand. Is all episodes of TV under 10 minutes or less, only available in mobile. So everything seems to be 20 minutes or less. And so we're going to do that. This last week, we usually do our service format as worship, message, and small groups. And so this week, to stay on that like 30-minute piece, we only did small groups. We had each of our small group leaders connect to the students through text message, invite them via Zoom. Zoom has been the win. Huge. I love Zoom. I'm so glad it was invented. Hadn't heard of it before about 6 weeks ago. And so, but via Zoom, and even having our students, and even non-tech savvy students, the thing about using why we're liking Zoom is, boom, you click on it. If that's installed on your excuse me, iPad or laptop or phone, you just click on the link, boom, you're there. So we had, I think we had 14 females with leaders in our small group. Our boys small group, let's be honest, sucked. We had 4. But, boys are stinky and boys are dumb. And so they just didn't quite get it. So we did that this week for our midweek service and, hey, focus in on connecting face-to-face with our students. We're also using Zoom. I run our young adult small group. And then, so we're using that for our young adult small group. And so we're all sitting down with our, like, what are you going to have for dinner that night? We're going to eat with each other. And we're going to just check in highs, lows, and prayers, how we do small groups. So we're doing that. Our staff meetings have gone that way, doing these Zoom things. And so this week, we're actually going to start for our Sunday morning church. So for big church is what I like to call it. Big church, we're actually encouraging people who attend our church to have what we're calling a Connect 10. And so you're going to reach out to 2 or 3 families or whoever who you usually connect with in the lobby or the foyer of your church. And you're going to do that over coffee, over breakfast for 10 minutes prior to the live stream going live with our pastor preaching. And we're actually adding worship in this week because we're trying to recreate that church experience, because it's not preaching. It's not worship. Those are parts of it, but really it's the connection with other people who are trying to connect with Jesus. That's all it is. And so we're trying to do that better. So we'll have a Connect 10, we'll do worship and a message, and we'll do that for Sunday mornings. And something else that's been really cool is My peeps, the people who I go to church with, every Sunday after church, we go have lunch together. So we've done the same thing. We said, hey, we're going to stop. We're going to go to church together. We're watching online, watching our living rooms, watching on an iPad or whatever. And then we're at 12 o'clock, go make lunch. And you're going to sit down. And I sat down at the kitchen table with my 2 kids and with the friends that I go to lunch with. And we had lunch together on Sunday.
Oh, that's so nice.
It was so cool. And it was awkward for 30 seconds. And then it was normal. We were talking over each other, telling jokes. We were showing each other what we were eating. It was like Instagram all over again. I'm eating for lunch. And so that's what we did. So we have just embraced. We have anticipation. We're a mobile church, so we meet in a school. We set up and tear down every week in the school. We have it's a pretty bad outlook for us on being able to meet in the school, possibly never again. They're closing down community groups. There's a possibility we might be able to meet back again in September. So we're saying, what if not only we can't meet, but what if the U.S., what if Washington State is shut down for 6, 8, 10 weeks, and this is how we need to meet, gather. And so we're trying to say, how does the church gather when we can't physically gather? Well, like I said, it's about connecting with other people. It's about worship. It's about, hearing what God has to say through us through somebody else, and then connecting with people. It's about Jesus people connecting with each other in Jesus on a weekly basis. That's how they did it, And so we live in a unique time. There's not a moment in history, even last year, where we could still do church in a way that we have done like we're doing in these weeks and months ahead of us. And I think that's awesome. So we're doing that stuff for youth ministry, connecting pre-youth ministry, doing worship and a message, connecting afterwards in small groups. Again, we've got a junior high boys, junior high girls, high school boys, high school girls group. We send them to there with their leaders, and the leaders connect with them. And luckily, most of us have decent internet, and I mean decent because we're in the States and internet sucks in the States. And so, but we have good internet. We can talk and interact. We can still pray with each other. That's the cool thing is like someone throws out a prayer request. We can stop right there and say, hey, let's pray together. And we can all bow our heads and close our eyes. And we can all kind of like, are they really bowing their heads and closing their eyes? We could do what we do normally in a small group, We've even, I still give salvation message. And one of my things that I do as just pastor and pastoring for all these years is I always give opportunity for people to give their life to Jesus. I still do that via Zoom, via video. Any opportunity I can get people to connect with Jesus, make him their Lord and Savior, I'm going to do it every time. So I don't know. Like I said, I would talk forever. So now you probably have questions or you're like, I'm done with this dude. We're out.
Yeah, like I can't imagine how you preach for 35 minutes on a regular Wednesday.
I know, right? I just keep talking.
That's awesome stuff. Hey, let me just double check here. Brad, have you been recording this?
Yep, I have.
Oh, good.
Oh, thank God. I would have to Jeez.
The content is so good. And clearly, you guys have had a bit more time to kind of be processing it. But I love what you're saying, like about we couldn't have done this 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 2 years ago. It's just like, if there's a time, the time is now. And actually, it feels to me like as a church, we haven't moved into this sort of tech world because we've kind of maintained this sort of old-fashioned way of doing church that worked 200 years ago, worked 100 years ago, of us all gathering to listen to somebody preach. When the world's moved on, we now live in a sort of Netflix kind of world. And this is forcing the church to get with it. And this may be amazing for the church as a movement moving forward,
Yeah, and I just think like, the way Christianity grew in that first century is because there was a road system built through the, that Palestine and the Roman world. And so like they were able to do it. We literally had non-church people lay a road for us to bring the gospel to the ends of the earth. It just happens to be over the internet and fiber optics of the world now. That's our road laid to preach the gospel. So excited about it. Yeah, it's scary. Don't get me wrong. I go to bed and I go, okay, what bad news am I going to have in the morning? But isn't that how the gospel moved forward in the first century? Is under these times of just struggle and frustration and not knowing what to do next is when the gospel moved forward the best. And that's what I see right now. These are times of opportunity. The church always grows in times of, we call them tribulation. I like to call them opportunity because I'm an optimist in everything I do. So,
well, Bryce, I'm sorry.
All right, Bryce, I'm keen for like what your young people are experiencing when you jump online with them? Are they kind of like anxious, bored? Are they keen to hang out? Are they like, oh, youth group? Like, what's the feeling with your young people when you like connect with them pastorally or online or like?
I would say, and this is, I would say this is reflective of our culture here in the U.S., is that they seem to mirror, even up through late high school, the opinions of their parents. And so there is kind of two camps here in the States about people are dealing. This is an overblown, ridiculous, why are we doing this? And then there's the, hey, we're all going to die, and this is the apocalypse, and, you know, prepare for the 4 horsemen. And what I think the church can do, and this is bring us to the center. Yeah, this is scary. There is some anxiety associated with it. There's some boredom associated with this. But if we can bring students to a place where they recognize their anxiety and their boredom are real. Like, the worst thing we can do is like, hey, stop being afraid. Or, hey, here's a YouTube video that's got a conspiracy theory on this. Have fun sleeping tonight. Like, we need to bring them to this center that says, yes, you have some fears, and that's okay. Remember, God had to come to Joshua and say, hey, be encouraged, have good courage, be very courageous. He had to remind him again and again and again in these moments of anxiety to have courage, which means it's real. So I think we need to honor the fact that students are feeling anxiety, give them practical pieces and spiritual pieces on how to work through it. But then on the flip side, not play into their fear, not say, yes, you should be afraid. And yes, hey, here's this horribly misquoted part of scripture that proves that this is the beginning of the end. We don't need to do that. And then the boardroom, they are looking for stuff to do. We all thought, great, I get our students here in Washington State have 6 weeks off for sure of school. And so they're like, great, I can play video games all day. I can finally beat that game. I can play Fortnite. I can do whatever. They are bored to tears right now. They're so bored, they're like reading books and playing board games. That's how bored they are.
Yes.
And so they're looking also for schedule. Like my 19-year-old son said something interesting. He goes, I did not realize how much I needed church and youth group on a weekly basis. And he goes, I know this is bad, not necessarily because of the like spiritual part of it, but because of the consistency and the people I see. And he started naming leaders. Man, I wish I could go give them a hug. I wish I could get a high five from them. I wish so-and-so and I could razz each other a little bit. And there's just, he misses those people. So those students, even though they say they're like, I don't care about youth group or whatever, they miss the consistency. And so we're just trying to provide, like in the gap, provide something that's consistent that they have to look forward to. Because right now students don't have anything to look forward to, whether it's the weekend, because that doesn't exist anymore here in Washington. There's no weekend anymore. They're just days that kind of drone on. So they're looking for something to look forward to. So that's one of the things we're doing. The other thing we're doing is we're engaging on social media every day, Facebook and Instagram especially. We've got a schedule that involves posting a worship song, posting a leader moment, posting a time for prayer. So on Fridays, we're going to do, hey, do you have anything to pray for? I'm going to pray for you. Here's a thought. If you need someone to pray for you, post it in the comments below, connect, direct message me, and we'll be praying for you. So connecting with them in every way possible. And we're trying to make a daily connect, either through our youth ministry or through Big Church, and saying, hey, reminder, tomorrow morning, Sunday, 10 a.m., we're going to have service online. We'd encourage you to join you and your families.
Hey, Bryce, really valuable to hear about how young people are feeling a couple of weeks in. That's something that we're going to experience, I guess, in the next couple of weeks. So that's super valuable for us. Just as I'm kind of reflecting on what you're talking about, what you're doing, and I guess we're having the same sort of ideas, is youth ministry is looking, it's better than what it's been before. Like when you talk about connecting in every single day, being intentional in people's lives, it's really exciting. Bryce, I know you're somebody that knows and networks well, and you care about the church around about you in Spokane. Other youth pastors, other churches, what are they up to? Anything you're seeing that's exciting?
Yeah, I think what I'm seeing that's really exciting is twofold, is that use of social media. So we're choosing to use YouTube. A lot of them are choosing to go live on Instagram because here in the States, that is the #1 social media that our students have. I'm a bad parent. I have an 11-year-old daughter. I let her on Instagram because I can check everything and you can't make everything private, or so I've been told, and I've been totally bamboozled. So I'm not sure. One of those is fine. But that's how they go. So I've seen a lot of youth ministries and churches go Instagram Live, IGTV, because that's a great way to do it. The other thing I have seen is students from other youth ministries attending our online services and my students attending theirs. It's a win. This is the last time to have a big ego and say, oh no, I've got students from my youth ministry attending your youth ministry. I would tell my students, if there's a youth group every night, go to it. I don't care how you go to it, get on with it. Listen to pastors, listen to other students and see how they're responding and connect with them. There is such opportunity right now for us to be the big C church, the church, and stop having, I'm trying to think of an appropriate word, stop having just like the ego associated with it about like, is my youth ministry bigger than yours? No, we don't have youth ministries bigger or smaller than others. We work for the Church of Jesus, and that's it. And we have local bodies here. And now we have digital local bodies that are going to be connected with others. So I love seeing the church come together, youth pastors and lead pastors connected with each other, all their place saying, how can we help each other? And then we're having the conversation about, what if we have a lot of mobile churches here in Spokane. So, hey, we don't have a building. We can't meet in the schools anymore. And they'll be like, hey, we'll adjust our services to meet earlier so you can meet a little later. Do you want to use this in the evenings? Is there a night during the week that you could use us? Because there's a possibility that mobile churches won't have a place to be up until the end of the beginning of the school year in September.
Or you might not even need a building from now on. Maybe this
Right.
is the future, right? Think of all these churches that have these big, expensive buildings to maintain. Maybe your mobile ways is what we're all going to be doing.
Well, I got a
Yeah.
question, Bryce. Something that is there anything that you've done since all this began that if it ended tomorrow, you can go outside and hug everyone and life is normal again? When life goes back to normalcy, is there something that you'd be like, I'm still going to keep doing that?
Oh, I'm absolutely going to keep connecting with my students on a daily basis through social media. That's
Nice.
something we have not been great about. Absolutely, I will. And then allowing the call-in to come to small group or youth group, because there's students that they're sick. They couldn't make it because of distance. There's a myriad of reasons that they wouldn't be able to come on a midweek service, saying, hey, call in, and it's acceptable. It's okay that you call in to go to youth group. To me, there's no bigger win than that, because you're just as present here on the digital way or in a Zoom call or FaceTiming in as you are there, and knowing that you're just as a valuable member. And so that's the cool thing that we'll keep for sure is, and then I think also the going online services, we're going to figure out a way. That's been a conversation between our staff. How do we always be online at 10 o'clock on Sunday mornings, no matter what? No matter if we're in a school building, a normal church building, meeting outside, or whatever, how do we always be online? And practically it helps in a couple ways. You can always have the nursery or the cry room. You can throw the feed there. But for the families or the people that are traveling, you can say, hey, hop online. You're on vacation, but you want to connect with us. Great. We'll be online at 10 a.m. And so having those pieces, and I think for a youth group too, hey, you're out, you worked late, sports ran late, whatever they are, instead of making it you didn't make it here in present, you weren't here physically. Well, that's okay, because you still can connect with us and make sure that we're caring for you through this media.
Cool.
All right, Bryce, that was so helpful for us. I think it's
good. I'm glad.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
we're just getting into it. We're just starting. We have no deaths in this country. We have 6 people in hospital. We know it's coming. We've been put into lockdown. And it's what you're saying will be valuable for every single youth pastor, every youth leader. So I really appreciate you coming in and having that conversation, my friend.
Guys, thanks for inviting me. This is my first time being an international speaker, so I really like this.
Hey, Bryce, put that on your resume, because I know in the States you can actually get paid money for doing this sort of thing.
Oh, man.
Well, Gordon, you're not paying Bryce? Oh, man.
I guess we're not.
But yeah, no, it's good to catch up. It's good to hear that you're still in ministry. I'm thinking about it. I think of all those guys that we used to hang out with 10 years ago or so when I was in Spokane, and some of those people have kind of moved on into different spheres. Right. Some people are still with it, and it's good to see you still with it, because I remember watching you preach, watching you at East Point Church. And you were, God's been using you for decades, my friend.
I appreciate that, and I hope he continues to. So I enjoy working for him. It's a good job. So
All righty. All right, my friend. God
right.
bless, and we'll see you later, okay?
all right, thanks guys. Have a great
Thanks,
day.
Bryce. Nice to meet you.
See ya.